Good afternoon here from Dubai. This is Coach Pedari, and with me I have the wonderful Michelle Strydom from the SMG Group. Good afternoon, Michelle. How are you doing?
I'm great, Sahel. It's wonderful to be here. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. As you see, I'm very well prepared for our listeners who might probably understand that you are from this wonderful nation. Not going to show off that I'm a fan of the Springboks, but you can see that. I'm doing great. So thank you for asking. And it is really a privilege to know you, first of all. I've known you since almost over a year now, and I'm really impressed, and I'm very inspired by the work you do in this community. Either it is in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and regional and globally. So welcome to the podcast. First one of many to come. Now, Michelle, it's impressive what you've done in the past 20 plus years. I mean, a great sales leader with a massive experience as leading organizations and sales organizations. And why coaching? So from sales leadership to coaching, tell us about the SMG Group and the why.
Great question, Shahel. Thanks. And a good place to start, really. And as you rightly said, I mean, I guess I was born for sales. I mean, I'm passionate about it. I've been doing it for 20 plus years. And I was blessed to have a pretty successful sales career from a corporate perspective, really starting on the ground up as, junior sales exec. My last 10 years in the corporate world was at a leadership level, leading some teams around the world. So I had the privilege of doing that. And I had this yearning, what's next for Michelle? What's next? What does the future hold? Then you mull on things, but when you're in a corporate world, you have all the comforts and all those things, and it takes courage to step out and say, what's next, and what do I really want to do in my life? And I came to the conclusion, Sahel, that it was really working with organizations, working with leaders, teams, individuals, from a sales training perspective, from a sales coaching perspective, because having sat on both sides of the table, I understand the extreme pressures that come with those different positions, being the sales manager who's got the target hit every month, the sales leader who the shareholders are screaming for their returns, and the pain and the fears that go with that. So, throughout my journey, I learned a lot. I had really great investment in some sales training programs. And it was time for me to live my passion, do what I enjoy doing, but more importantly, to walk the road with others and help them take the pain of their non-performance away from a sales results perspective. So the SMG Group is my business. I'm the CEO of that, and it really is an organization where we provide highly effective sales training programs, plus some sales coaching one-on-one, and some clients require more on the consulting side. So it's made up of those sort of three tiers, Sahel, per se, and that's what I've been doing for probably just over 2 years now.
Well, I've been blessed to actually attend one of your workshops. Almost over a year ago, I was asked to come and attend, and it was a half-day workshop, which was the topic was DISC. I know a lot of people today hear about DISC, and many organizations have perhaps used it somehow, come across. Tell us, what do you do? And you do it very well, but what do you do, and what does those workshops bring out to the participants?
The aim of the whole workshop, the program I run, is a whole brain sales process that's tried and tested, that I personally used myself for 18 years, Sahel. So this is sort of not a new creation. It is a pretty practical, what I refer to as user-friendly, that whatever your industry is, you can apply it to your real world. And I always had the philosophy that when you're training or coaching people, it's got to be relatable, practical, and easy to understand. not something that you put on a shelf in a lever arch file and, you never look at it again. Because how many of us attend training programs, you walk out, you're excited for 48 hours, and then you forget the trainer's name. Well, I was going to make sure I wasn't one of those people, because you weren't going to forget me in a hurry. So the half-day workshop that you attended, a big component, it spoke about really 7 steps of a sales process, but the fundamental one, as you rightly have highlighted, is around the DISC personality styles. So if I just take a step back, I'm a certified DISC behavioral expert in my business. So what does that mean? What that means is DISC is 4 dominant personality styles, DISC, dominance, influences, steadiness, and compliance, for those who may not know who are listening or watching. And as human beings, every single one of us have a combination of those 4 letters. So it's so important from a sales perspective. When I'm coming to see Sahel for the first time and I'm trying to convince you to hire me, to buy my service or whatever it is I'm trying to sell, what a lot of sales professionals and leaders fail to realize is that if we just rock up and be who we are, our normal personality, we're going to get it wrong 3 out of 4 times, and then we mustn't wonder why we don't get the deal. So how does that happen? That happens because every single client that you are trying to do business with, you and the competition, by the way, because I wish it was just us, but it's not, each client wants to be treated, Sohail, in a certain way. They want to be communicated in a certain way according to their dominant DISC personality style. So it's my job to teach you what is the DISC personality styles. That's kind of the first layer. So what does each characteristic represent? But then we go much deeper to say, okay, well, what is the communication strategy? So if I'm talking to someone who's a high D, there's a certain way that you've got to talk to that individual to get, them to relax with you, because you've got to become the emotional twin of everybody you're sitting in front of. But to do that, Sahel, you've got to understand who you are first. It's no good me understanding DISC, but I've got no clue who I am. I've got to understand my style, what's the strengths of it, and when in sales do I have to adapt when I'm sitting opposite a client that's opposite to me. So we teach you what it is, what is a communication strategy, and each one has a different closing strategy. So at the end of the day, whether we're selling virtually, whether we're selling face-to-face, people buy from people they like, and people like themselves. So if I am a reserved introvert, quite analytical, logical mindset, and someone comes in, a great seller, hey, extrovert, off the wall, I'm going to look at you and think, don't come near me. Woo, take him or her away as soon as possible. So, that's just reality. So the foundation of our sales performance and really being able to connect is, how do we start that meeting? How do we resonate with purpose? And how do we become the emotional twin that's then going to build an incredibly strong relationship, because you know what makes that client tick, and you know how you need to treat them the way they're expected to be treated, in essence.
Well, I think you're scratching only the surface, because it's way more than you could put into words, I think, in a few minutes. I've seen this in action, and I think it's really powerful. Even if it was a half-day workshop, I walked out of your workshop really touched and impressed, and I guess that is the power of what you do. Now, the description of DISC and the whole brain selling is one thing, but then the Michelle who brings it into action is another. I mean, where do you get all your inspiration? Where do you get all this energy from?
I have to say my mother, because my mother is like my best friend, and she'll be annoyed if I say what her age is. But I mean, she looks like 15 years younger than she is. So I'm hoping it's going to follow in the genes. But seriously, I think for me, when I made the shift from my previous life, I thought I want to do something, that hopefully is playing to my strengths, is fueling my passion, but I want to enjoy myself at the same time. Would be nice. Now, I know in the real world it's not 100% achievable all the time, but when I am connecting with beautiful human beings like yourself in a workshop and others and clients, whether it's external venue in the client's boardroom, people just make me come alive. So it's the energy and the passion of really the goal is to see you make improvements through hopefully the journey that I can walk with you and support you on. So yeah, I mean, I've had training sessions last year. I think a huge global client I trained, I reckon we went for 14 hours. And they said,
Wow.
geez, we can't believe it was so long. I can't believe it's so long because sometimes I think I get lost in my own world and everyone's going to pull me back down.
It's amazing. I mean, honestly, it's a single time I've talked to you, and you constantly have this high energy, which is absolutely a blessing. Now, you kind of got me to the next question somehow without knowing it, but you said your mother, and my question would be, who are the three people who have been the most influential in your life? So I'm taking your mother first, but who would be the next two most influential people in your life?
The most influential people in my life were definitely my mother, for sure. So that's ticked. The other two would be my husband, definitely has to be in that top three, because he just inspires me and kind of completes me in so many different ways, because we're very different in terms of our styles and all of that. So there's a lot of strengths I draw from him. And I have to say, from a spiritual perspective, it's God, without a shadow of doubt. I'm a very spiritual person, and I'm certainly not perfect, but through the highs and lows of life, I try and work very hard to keep a strong faith. You know, there's obviously days where you're not going to be bouncing off the walls, but you know, the influences, my spirituality is a big trigger and a pull in my life.
Wow, that's amazing. I think more than ever, we need that point of reference. We need a higher point of reference in terms of finding the right way. And if we're on track on the right way, we need the strength to be able to walk that way, I think. So would you say to people listening, obviously, and watching us, how do they get out of the situation? I mean, every single day we've seen for the last couple of months, people coming on the social media and giving best advices of how to be a great leader, how to be a great associate, how to be a great company, how to be a great human being during COVID-19. Now, has COVID-19 opened people's eyes on how to be great or how to be best? Or is this a scenario where people are just using it as a circumstance or as an opportunity to tell others how to be better? How do you see the whole thing? How do you see this scenario, and how do you live it?
Excellent question, because first of all, Sal, for me, these have been pretty extraordinary times for every human being on this planet. And there is like a monster overload with everybody trying to be everything to everyone. I suspect in a very positive way, don't get me wrong. So a leader pre-pandemic doesn't mean they weren't good then and they're now trying to be better now. Well, isn't life about consistency generally? I guess it comes down to your values as well. So to be honest, on a personal front. But when times are really tough, I just step back and reflect on myself. And I like to be an example of who I am and what my work is. I don't want to be saying one thing and doing another, because there's a lot of people who say one thing and, you know, maybe aren't as authentic as perhaps they should be. And at the end of the day, you've got to be realistic. You can't profess to solve everyone's problems because you're not going to be able to. What that person is going through internally, you've got no idea. You're not living it. You're not feeling it. You don't know the personal and professional stresses of that poor human being. So, you know, how does one get through tough times, to your point? You know, and a couple of things surface for me. First of all, you've got to learn to be kind to yourself, because in these times of severity where it's awful, you've got to be as kind to yourself as possible, because we tend to beat ourselves up. I know I'm guilty of that. You tend to beat yourself up. Oh, we need to be this, we should be doing that, etc. But in difficult times, you need to also build up that resilience. You have to have a bit of a tough skin, because let's be honest, there's been huge crises throughout history. And the strongest tend to survive that. And not to say everybody listening's got to be a strong person, no. But I always say, try and have more good days than bad days. I mean, these days where I just don't want to do anything as well. And that's okay. And you just got to be okay with that and let the mood pass. And I think it's also helped that I'm a certified emotional intelligence coach, which was another journey I went on. I got certified this year with the Daniel Goleman Group, because I think everybody deserves to be the best version of themselves. But what I find useful is think of just one thing each day. What are you grateful for? And it could be the smile from your child. It could be the roof over your head. It could be the glaze lovingly from your animal, or knowing the love that you have with close friends in your family. So every day I say, what am I grateful for today? And it changes. And that's just as best as you can cope from the here and now, because how we're going to be in 30 days' time, I don't think anyone really knows that.
Yeah, very wise words. And I think we will have to wait and see how the world reacts once when we go back to normality. And they say this is the new norm. I believe humans tend to forget very fast also crisis and history. And this is how human beings have always been. We kind of tend to forget our own history from time to time. But many, many great stories were born during COVID-19. And very much, besides all that noise that's been made in social media, I've been looking at social media carefully the past couple of months, and I've seen so many people rise, but as many have gone up, same amount of people are not there anymore because the audience got tired of the same old. So glad to have people like yourself, out there that are genuine and that know what they're doing, that keep on preaching and keep on telling the world what is the right and the kind way to go forward. Now, because of that, I'm going to go back to the SMG Group. And what I like about your slogan is that, believe, learn, become. Believe, learn, become. Is there a reason for that? The way you put it there? And if there is, tell us why. If there isn't, I still think it sounds great. That it starts with believing.
And thank you, because I don't often get asked that question. So I'm very impressed. Not that I shouldn't be, because it's you. And yes, maybe I'm biased, but genuinely, I have not been. I think this is the second time. So 20 out of 10, Sal.
Okay.
But that was really it's the SMG's mantra. It's our backbone, and it was born out of a lot of reflection, and really for me to say what is this organization going to be about? What is our philosophy when we're working with human beings? Because this is our game. However it's going to be, we're working with individuals, and no two people are alike. So the whole believe, learn, become, the background to that, Sal, is first of all, the belief part starts with your own self-belief. And I don't mind where that sits from 0 to 10 if it's only 1 out of 10. Anyone who has some self-belief, it doesn't matter how much or how little, that to me is where it starts. So when you believe in yourself with something, whatever that is, believing it is the starting point, then when you come in and I engage with you in our world, the SMG world, once you walk in with that self-belief, we can then teach you the learning part. We can then empower you with the tools, the skills, the knowledge, the techniques, whatever it is, to become whoever you want to be. So if I start as the T-boy and my goal is to be the office manager, and that belief starts, come in, have that self-belief. From there, we can learn together in a journey where I can arm you to get to the destination of becoming whoever you want to be. That's the background.
Wow. I'm glad I asked that question, because I truly believe that I truly believe. You see, I'm just saying that again. it starts with belief, as you just said. And it's so important for people who are listening and watching to know the really the essence of your organization, which obviously is the cover of within the philosophy that you use, right? Now, you've told us about your journey in a few words, and we've touched base on why it started. You know. But as a coach, as an inspirational coach, what is your philosophy? And how did you get there? Or are you, as I usually say when people ask myself, I say it's a journey. Your philosophy today might not get changed, but it might get a different look by a couple of years. But what is yours, and how would you define it?
Coaching for me is an evolution. It is a journey. It's not a final destination. I think you've absolutely said that very correctly, Sal, in terms of summing that up. My philosophy around the coaching piece is I have really an outlook that is one I could probably sum up in 2 words. It's a philosophy of support, so of a supportive nature, yet surrounded by honesty and directness. Because I think every single person that I have the privilege to work with and coach deserves to be the best version of themselves. And it's my job to help you realize that. Now, we know in any coaching relationship, as they say in the classics, it takes two to tango. We got to meet each other halfway. We got to dance the dance together. This is not a one show pony sort of thing. So in this engagement, we have to both be committed in this two-way street of meeting each other halfway in order to achieve the outcomes and the positive changes that you would like to see happen in your life, whether it's personally, from a sales performance perspective, but whatever it is. So for me, it's being able to walk from a figurative perspective, sort of hand in hand, but it takes serious commitment. And some people are more committed than others, and sometimes I've walked away from coaching engagements where you can just see that chemistry and that aura. Maybe I'm not the right fit because you're not always everything to everyone, but very much so supportive, directive, but knowing how to also give tough love if you have to.
Perfect. This is a tough one, and when I usually ask this, it comes as a surprise, but I think this question is always important to ask oneself. What was, or perhaps is, your biggest failure, and what have you learned from it? As a human being, obviously, we'd love to know the coach Michel, more. But what is the biggest, or what has been, or maybe is the biggest failure, and what have you learned?
That is a tough one.
I told you.
A past take a sip of water. I was going to say, where do I start? There's so much.
Which means you're very lucky and blessed, because a lot of people wouldn't sum it up in 2 or 3. But I have a high respect for people who say, "Yeah, I have a lot of failures," like you.
A couple of things come to mind, but again, for me, you can only truly grow if you've truly failed. You can only taste the fruits of success if you've bloodied your nose, fallen on your bum, and struggled to get up. So if I look in my life, I used to take things pretty seriously and be quite intense. And that used to have negative consequences on me. Also, not allowing to be who I really wanted to be, allowing other people to make me into something that I probably wasn't, just through my journey in life and different parts of it and different chapters as we all have. And For me, I don't know if it's an age thing, but I've learned to be better at my own self-management, because I used to, typically very high driver, very ambitious, very goal-orientated. So my patience wasn't my strongest, I have to be honest. So definitely if I look back, there's situations where I know I could have handled it a lot better, where the outcome wasn't great for me or the individual at the time. And I look back and think, how did I do that? Why did I do that? And sometimes you just don't learn from your mistakes because you're just going so fast, so far, and you're not stopping to smell the roses. So that is where I stumbled quite a bit. Yeah.
I guess in sales, that word is a bit of a taboo, and it's also a bit of you want to use failure and I failed too much. And the reason I put you on the hot spot is during these times, I think salespeople specifically are under immense pressure to perform more than ever with less funds, less human resource, and less time.
Yeah.
Those three things together are not in advantage of any sales person, whether a super sales guy or or average sales guy or lady, if there is. What is your advice to them during the recovery? Because COVID is behind us. Whether we like it or not, is behind us. So now we're talking about the future. What is your advice to people, professionals, that want to stay on track and want to fight, but don't have the resources, don't have the time, and pressure is on? And how can they strengthen themselves?
And I'm so glad you said COVID's behind us, because it actually is. We are now building to thrive. Forget the survive. We've moved past that. So thrilled to hear that, because that's really the road forward we should be all aiming at. So to come back to your question, Sahel, first of all, I get it that organizations, post 120 days, it was tough. Everybody had to go into, what are we doing? Who are we keeping? Who stays? Who goes? I understand that. There were big winners and there's been severe losers in different industries. So where we are today, a couple of points of advice I'd like to say is, first of all, to your point, organizations are loading, let's just stick to salespeople, if I may.
Absolutely.
So they're loading their sales resources to do more with less. And my first reality check to them would be, you have to understand you're not dealing with machines, you're dealing with human beings. So whoever you've chosen to be with the organization, let's just reconfirm what sometimes people forget. Sales is the lifeblood of the organization. If you don't have clients, you don't have a business. And to get clients, you need competent salespeople that feel cherished, that feel supported, that have a positive motivation. And yes, we're always going to be under pressure to close a deal or have targets of X, Y, and Z, I understand. That's always going to be, that's the role we sign up to do. So my advice is, whoever is within organizations still in a sales role, those leaders should be investing in that talent as best as they can to equip them to not perform, but overperform. Because while your competitors are circling the wagons and wondering what they must do, the clever companies, and I'm working with a handful globally, the clever ones are saying, Michelle, our conversion rates are bad. This is what's happening. What do we do? And I'm training those companies now, because as we go up and up on this curve, they're not going to get out the starting blocks walking. They're going to be sprinting. So it's the ones that are there. Be realistic on your expectation. Yes, you have to have that bell curve of stress that keeps a positive stress level that drives performance, not breaks down mentalities where people are so internally strained and stressed, they ain't going to sell anything. So the ones that are there, what are you doing to make them feel appreciated and supported, and to be realistic that if you want them to hit $10 a month, maybe for the first 3 months, they're only going to hit $5 or $6 or $7. But be realistic and let them build up the confidence to actually gain good momentum given the market realities. And my advice is go after less but gain more. Instead of your boss is saying go after 20 new clients, no, go after 5 and close 4 out of 5 would be my advice. Because we spend so much time and the salespeople are under so much stress chasing their tails like chickens without a head. And that's just demotivating, because then your manager comes on the line or your sales VP and gets a stick out and says, Michelle, what the hell have you been doing? And you're trying to be everything to everyone. Don't do that. Rather take a step back and look at where are you going to have low-hanging fruit. Go to existing clients, try and get more business out of them. So try and work smart and clever. But salespeople have got the hardest job on the planet. It's probably the least respected, the most thankless, and yet we drive the revenues that the shareholders enjoy. So cut us a bit of slack and show the appreciation to those people that still have to drive the wheel forward, that they actually on board with for all the right reasons. Otherwise, the good talent, because think about it, when you come out of a tough situation, who are the ones you want to hang on to? The ones that are average or your top sellers? You want to hang on to the top sellers. And who's going to be the first to go? The top guys. Why? Because the competitor's going to poach your top guy. Why? Because they're offering training. They're offering career progression. They're offering all the things you're not doing. So leaders need to sit back and also have a bit of a reality check on some of those priorities.
And for the ladies and gentlemen who are listening to it, this comes from a person who's been in sales for years, taking organizations from a closing average of 20% to 65%. And one of them was in 1 year only. So, walking the talk is very important in this job. And I think what makes you inspiring is that you bring all that experience into your workshop, into your coaching, into your conversation with salespeople, predominantly maybe, and obviously other professionals who seek your advice. You were, if I recall very correctly, you were very, very close, and it was, I think, weeks from conducting a disc workshop for a huge hospitality company, Marriott International. And I think COVID-19 came along and kind of postponed the party for you for now. And not going into details, what were you going to bring to the participants without exposing a lot to so that we don't take away the excitement on coming to a disc workshop, which is really exciting. I can tell our audience and the listeners, it is a must, especially in these days where workforces are getting slim and they're getting less and people have to do more for less. Disc is the way forward for people to understand and get along, understand each other, and for organization to retain the right people. Because let's be honest, you touched on it, that you don't want to work with the like thinking people. I mean, you don't want to have the same mindsets all over and across the room, because where's the diversity? And diversity is not only what is diverse to the eye or to the ear. Diversity is in the mind. And also I think diversity is that we don't agree to everything, right? So without going into details, a group of people come into your workshop and do disc and they walk out. What do they walk out with? And what's next?
First of all, they'll walk out with an experience they're never going to forget, number one. Practically, number two, they're going to walk out with a newfound confidence in understanding what makes people tick and understanding why their spouse or their child or their brother can rub them the wrong way, because it's going to be like a light bulb moment in understanding what I need to do to really connect emotionally with someone in terms of positively, authentically influencing them to do the right business thing for both parties. Because it's not a trick thing. It's not a manipulated thing. It is understanding the power of human science in behavior. So they're going to walk out I have to be honest, not everyone, but most of the delegates that attend the behavioral side, the DIS program, walk out and say, I want to take my own assessment, because it starts with you looking in the mirror. So I do assessments and debriefs one-on-one. If you sign up for a program, you get the assessment in it. Again, depends how it's structured, obviously how long it is, etc., etc. So you understand the power of you. They're going to walk out understanding the power of themselves. Then they're going to know how to be able to adapt when necessary when they're sitting opposite someone that they're tasked to close that deal with that client who is different to them. How are they going to handle that? And it's got nothing to do with, oh, Michelle, I'm shy, I'm an introvert, I don't. You can be a desk expert and become disc literate no matter who you are. Doesn't matter, because it's a skill that's easy to learn, easy to teach, and you then adapt it to who you are. Why? Because you've got the tools and the knowledge of being able to understand the mechanisms that make up the effectiveness when you bringing it into your sales world and your sales strategy, because it starts with the relationship. So hell, you know that sales are built on relationships. I don't care if it's the AI world, this world, that world, post pandemic. We are all relationship, social human beings. No one is going to buy from you, whether it's a product, a banqueting area, a service, if they don't like you. So you got to make sure that there is that connection, and the program will bring all those answers to you.
And I feel like this should be taught in school. And I think that sometimes maybe this is something that should really, really be taught early in every human being's life, because it might make the world a better place. Now, what would Michelle give us a tip for making the world a better place? And I know that right now, so much has happened in the last couple of weeks, and it's happening still in some parts of the world, where we might think diversity, and workplaces are diverse, right? We live in a very diverse country. We're residents in a very diverse country, but as a member of this world, we are in a diverse planet. So what is your advice? What is your one tip that makes this world a better place to anyone listening? Sales, no sales, leader, no leader, father, son, mother, daughter, husband, wife.
Be less judgmental. Be less judging in your views and your opinions. And we love to jump to that very, very quickly. And with the tone of being less judgmental in this world, coupled with that, Sahel, I would say, is we have to develop this breadth and this appetite for tolerance, because I mean, it's pretty scary what is happening out there. But to make the world a better place from a connectivity perspective, from a human perspective, stop judging. Stop thinking you like this because when you don't even know me. So the judgmental part is a big thing for me linked. Secondly would be more tolerant and abandon the judgmental mindset.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think if everyone starts with that as a step, we will definitely have more opportunities, more fair opportunities, and more possibilities in front of us. So, what were your best resources when you were starting the journey with the SMG Group? So, we know your philosophy, we know why you started, we know why you love doing this. But did you have proper resources? Which were the best resources that you had at hand, whether it was material or it was human resource? What was that made you successful and making you successful to date? If you can share that.
It's so true, because when you make this transition, it can feel like you're literally in a canoe on the sea with no oar, and you're just drifting. And I felt like that a lot.
I think you're lucky if you have a canoe. I think you're lucky if you have a canoe. It might be just one of those tires, like you're just hanging on a piece of a wreck.
Yes. Oh, a life jacket that you hope is still inflatable and a shark's not going to bite you.
With a couple of holes in it.
You got to laugh. If you don't laugh, you're going to cry. You got to laugh.
Absolutely.
And life's all about laughter. I love laughing. So the transition in terms of the resources on different levels. Fantastic question, Sale. First of all, from a material perspective, the material in my backyard was probably my bench strength because I had that. It was something that it had evolved throughout my life that I had personally done, tried, failed, gone along the steps, the journeys, the highs, the lows, etc. So it was then understanding the other pieces. And I have to say, two things come to mind. I have a business mentor that I still work very closely with today. And he was incredible because he would kind of keep me on track. And, this is a guy who's actually been selling for over 50 years. So, he's latter 70s today, but an incredible, incredible person, has been a personal mentor to me from a professional sales, personal level. So he was a big help for sure. And then one or two other professional people that I guess gave me guidance where I was going off piece, trying to achieve something which actually I was focusing in the wrong direction. But more importantly, the love of my family. The love of my family gave me the strength. I still remember even conversations today with my family, and I sometimes put my hand in my head and say, how am I going to do this? I say, what do you mean, how are you going to do this? But remember what you've done. Oh, you forget. So the love of my family, my husband, my brother, my mother, my father is so critical because they are my anchor without a shadow of doubt. Because running your own business is not easy. And yes, you might say, well, I'm a great seller. And you go out there having lived in Dubai for 15 years, thinking all the clients and the network you have, they're just going to all hire me to coach and train. Wrong. That never happened. Oh, so there was a few reality check moments in a couple of months. I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting.
It's so true, and I'm glad you brought the word mentor into the sentence. I think more and more the role of a mentor has disappeared. Right? Back. I mean, I haven't sold for 50 years, but 20 plus years of selling and working professionally, and I always believed in the word mentorship, and I always looked for inspirational mentors. Now, in our modern days, the new generation, or and I'm not going to call them names now, but the generations that are coming and the word mentorship has dissolved. It's like in thin air. It's just gone up, and that is such a great resource and inspiration if young or non-young people of all professions go back to one step and say, I need to find the right mentor. And now finding the right mentor is a quest in itself because it's not an easy task to find one and to keep. But I think that is one advantage to you. And that's why when you said mentor, I think that is one of the true advantages of people who are very successful in any business or on their life, that they don't say, I know it all. They keep on constantly having the conversation with a person who is close to them mentally, spiritually, and give and take, or just listen. Not sometimes you don't have to even take or give, or vice versa. Listening is enough. So thanks for that. I think listeners, or who are watching this, go back and see if you can really find a mentor for yourself and have that dialogue on a consistent basis. So we're almost there now for this podcast, but I got two more questions. One of them is, if you could step in my shoes right now, what would you ask Michelle that I didn't?
What do you want to be doing in 5 years' time?
Okay.
In terms of my life, my journey. I mean, why am I asking such a tough question on me? That was a stupid thing to do.
You see, the beauty of this question is that it really doesn't put any pressure on me. But I hand over everything to you. There you go. Tell us
I'll
about
pick
5
up
years.
the baby. Exactly. You can sit back and chill. Have a sip of coffee. Yeah.
So back to you.
So what am I going to see in 5 years' time? Michelle SMG, Michelle Personal. What is that picture going to look like? You look at the stage of my business now. I mean, 2 years is not a long time. So I'm not, I guess, as one evolves, you can't say how I am today is where I want to be in 5 years. But the picture's going to be, I'm going to be globally known. I'm going to be the go-to girl for people who want the best sales training or coaching. Move over to Tony Robbins or whoever these people are. There's so many millions of brilliant people that do brilliant. I just see Tony Robbins because not that, I know everything about him, but I'm going to be the go-to global girl to help, to support, and to live the dream that I've always wanted to be destined to fulfill in this world, and not only in this world, but, for myself, for my family. But happy having touched lives, happy having traveled and experienced different things, and just being really fulfilled and being able, I guess, because as one grows with the aim, we all want to get more successful. But I would love to be in a position in 5 years' time where I'm giving back more. And clearly this would be from a financial perspective. So because, we all reach our goals at different stages and channels. So certainly giving back more to bigger causes and things that I'm close and feel passionate about in different parts of the world, because there is so much that's needed out there. There's so much suffering. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And I think more human beings, even if it's just a little bit, whatever you're able to, each little bit can make a difference in the world. So yeah, giving back would have to be a bigger chunk of what I'm compared to where I am now.
Well, I can tell you that you are global already in many ways, and that is not a compliment. That's a matter of fact, a reality. I think when I meet people and when I connect with people on a more higher level, you definitely see a person who's global mindset and a person who isn't. And I think there are many people out there who bring things globally, in their organizations, and there are people who globally think and maybe deliver locally at this point of time, or regionally. But for sure, I am more than 100% confident that we're going to see SMG Group globally. And as a matter of fact, you have a very nice a list of clients that you're working with, testimonials that people can go and see for themselves. And as a matter of fact, as I mentioned previously, post COVID-19, probably you will still have that exact amazing workshop with Marriott International go back on track, where you had the global sales and leaders coming to that workshop. That's an amazing job, Michelle. We've reached the end of the podcast, but I'm not going to let you go without telling us where can our listeners and people who are watching the YouTube channel find you online. So if they want to connect with you, how do they connect?
So they can connect with me in a couple of ways, Sohail. I have my own Michelle Strydom personal LinkedIn. I have an SMG Group LinkedIn account as well. So please, you can message me on my personal LinkedIn if you prefer. My email address is Michelle, MICHELLE @ the SMG Group, all one word, .net. I'm on Instagram as the SMG Group, all the normal Facebook, Twitter, etc. But generally, people normally reach out to me on LinkedIn or on email or on my website. The website, of course, the SMG Group is my website as well. So you're welcome to check it out, have a look at some of the testimonials, drop me a note with absolute pleasure.
So the smggroup.net, listeners, who's watching us, viewers, connect with Michelle to understand more what she can bring to you as a person or an organization. not just through the DISC assessment, but through the whole brain selling method and methodology, and get some advice and get some consultancy. So thank you so much for coming today. I know we're going to have more podcasts with you in the near future. It's been an amazing time spent over exciting topics, and this is only the tip of an iceberg. So all the way here from Dubai, this is Coach Pedari, and also I'd like to thank Ivy Coaches for partnership with me. And Michelle, thank you so much for coming today, and we talk and see you soon.
Thank you so much, Coach Pedari. First of all, this has been an amazing podcast to you and the Ivy Coach team. You do a phenomenal job, and it's been such a privilege to be a part of this. So keep up the great work. You're touching lives. You're making a difference. Keep shining and keep doing the beautiful stuff you do, Sahel. And it's been an absolute privilege, and our friendship will be going on for as long as we'll be on this earth. So I look forward to catching up again, but thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. All the best, and go Springboks. Bye from Dubai.
Thank you so much. All the best.